What's up, AfterBuzzers? We are back with another episode of The Magician's After Show. Season 4 is almost in the books. Josh is a fish. The Elliot monster sister is back, and she's pissed, so don't go anywhere.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
That's right, y'all. It's that time again. It's Wednesday. You know what it is. It's another episode of The Magician's After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. Guys, season 4 is almost done.
I know.
It has just flown by.
It has.
Feels like a long ride for me.
Right. It's true. That's true. There's a lot has happened between episode 1 and episode 12, which we will get into. My name is Ty Matthews. Joining me, as always, the crew to my left. She's been here since day 1. I've been telling y'all week after week. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Adrian Snow.
And for like nearly every episode. Like,
Almost
I'm here
every
too
single
often.
one.
I'm going to start taking breaks. Hi, guys.
Of course. To Adrian's left. Been talking about it this whole season. You've also seen him talking about Westworld. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nate Miller.
What's going on, guys? Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got a lot to get into in this episode. We're going to be talking about Darth Eliot, as we've been calling him, and his sister, who is now inhabiting Julia's body.
Darth Julia.
Darth Julia. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Absolutely. We're going to be talking about Josh's new form, at least for this episode.
The, where is it?
The Florian dying fish.
I was like scanning,
Not to be
scanning.
confused with the Florian fucking fish, of course.
Very different breed.
Very different.
We got the return of Christopher Plover.
Yeah.
I don't, it's...
I knew he was coming. I just, I
Sure.
just kind of, I wrote, he's a dumbass and I'm just over it. So.
I'm always interested when the show brings him back because they traverse some pretty interesting ground morally with that character, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I love Charles Shaughnessy, who plays Christopher Plover, aka Mr. Sheffield, but I just like him not realizing that his spell would still work. I was like, clearly that's the thing that keeps keeping you
the
alive.
age suspension spell. Definitely, yeah. We will get to that. Zelda and Katy's adventure in the poison room, all that good stuff. And of course, Adrian will have another God of the Week later on in the episode. Those have been fantastic. So yeah, be sure you tune in. If you're on YouTube, leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment. iTunes, download, comment, review, subscribe, rate, 5 stars if you're nasty. Keep talking to us about the Magicians, because we've only got like one episode left after this one, y'all. So let's get into the conversation. So where to start? Let's start with Margot, Finn, and the Josh fish.
Okay.
We got into a lot. I mean, really with all the characters, but we got into a lot with Margot and her kind of feelings for Josh.
Yeah.
While he wasn't able to articulate them.
I'm still not quite on the boat of the Margot and Josh.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I don't think they're cute. I just don't think it's well developed. So it was kind of like, oh, okay. But it's cute. It's cute. It's cute that she realized it while he was a fish. It's cute that Finn took off to Benihana.
So why do yes, exactly. Her being the knife lover that she is. So why do you think that is? Forgive me if we've gotten into this before, but why are you not completely sold on Josh and Margot?
I just think it was kind of, for as like long as this overall episode felt, where I was just like, too much is happening.
Sure.
I felt like they kind of rushed the Margot Josh storyline. And they could have had more time to develop that, because Josh for so long was like kind of a one-off character that would pop in and pop out, and now he's a series regular. And if they wanted to initiate that, they could have laid the foundation a little bit sooner, like they did with Penny and Julia,
Right.
or like they even did with Elliot and Q. Like there's a foundation of that being a possibility, whereas Josh and Margot was more of a convenience type of thing that it was born out of.
Right.
And then now
out of the werewolf kind of mini episode. Yeah. Nate, what'd you think?
I'm kind of in the same boat of a different mind. Like I kind of like the Josh Margot actually.
Sure.
I think if you go back and rewatch the show, like Josh has always been. It's always been because we see him as a joke. His attraction towards Margot has always kind of been taken as a joke.
Oh, I
it's
see.
Just like she's like a strong, powerful, attractive woman. Of course, he's gonna, be attracted to her. And I think that fact, because it was a joke and like never could have happened, I can kind of get with it happened, and then you actually have these feelings that are way stronger.
There were kind of more seeds planted.
Right, exactly. And I think we just didn't see them, but I do agree with you in that it feels rushed. It does feel like I don't feel like we've seen enough of it for it to really like mean anything.
Sure.
I'm like, cool. To me, it means more like the decision for her to stay with him and not go to save Elliot is completely undermined by the fact that if she leaves, he's going to die. Mm-hmm. So regardless of whether or not she's like in love romantically with him, if she cares about him as a person, she's not going to leave him to die.
She's basically forced to stick around.
She wouldn't have. But that's the thing. Like they set it up, and this is why I felt it was kind of rushed. They set it up so that she could leave. Because her eye would still be on him, you know.
Right.
So she could, and maybe she would have been distracted.
I think. Well, but I think also. I mean, they didn't really define it, but in my head canon, like, yeah, she can pull the eye out, but like, she can't like go to another dimension to Fillory and then still see. Like, maybe, I feel like there's got to be some range, some Wi-Fi range on
That's
the eye.
true. Yeah, it felt a little too much like, okay, like you can easily have both. You know, like you can just pop your eye out, and like obviously that's been well established, but. I totally get what you're saying for sure. Do we think that there's anything in the fact that maybe just the relationship in general has sort of been played for laughs a little bit more than say like Penny and Julia's has?
I could see that. I could see it. I think that on top of the fact that they got together, then they had a fight, then they broke up, then they got back together, and that kind of being, there is this kind of weird stereotype of like if you're a strong woman, then you're going to be a difficult woman to be in a relationship with.
Sure.
And part of that may be true, mainly because if you're a strong woman, at least on television and film, then you are more often than not alone for a long period of time. So you have to readjust to having someone in your space and in your life. But if that's the main problem, is that Margot is too strong, or Margot is too assertive, or Margot has no problem cursing Josh out. If that's the main point of the problem in the relationship, I think it's just kind of, judging by everyone else's magician standards, really weak.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Alice and Quentin, she became a Niffin and killed a bunch of things, and then came back and didn't fucking like him.
Right.
Like Penny is not in a relationship with his Julia. You know, Katie's Penny is dead. Like their stakes are so much higher. It would be more refreshing to have this kind of normality of a relationship if it was better developed from the get-go. I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened. I'm not saying it's not cute. It's just not developed.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the intention is to play off the trope of the not necessarily like traditionally good-looking guy pulling the, you know, super attractive, confident woman.
Right.
Because he's the funny guy and he's the sensitive guy. He's the guy who actually cares about her, which is something you see in like TV and movies and stuff.
Sure.
But I just don't feel like it was maybe shown enough for us to be like, oh, cool, this is good. This is what we want. Like, especially with what Margot's already gone through this whole season of like, you can be strong and sad at the same time, and you can be independent, like being your own person. And oh, by the way, this guy that you know, kind of, it was just like the one thing that is interesting for me that I wish they spent more time on, and which I think would have made it more of like a real situation that actually has drama, is how Josh feels like, in that he obviously has more feelings for her than she had for him, or at least that she was willing to express, and then dealing with that, okay, this is just like a casual thing that's not like a real thing. What is that like now that we're friends? And like him dealing with that, and I think that would have made the whole thing much more interesting, to then have her have this realization of like, okay, maybe I do like him more than just hooking up every now and then. It's okay for me to be sensitive, let my guard down. I think that would have been more warning. But also, I think we spent more time talking about the relationship than a lot of the writers did this season.
Right.
Yeah, and I also it's just kind of like I don't know, I think Margot has shown that she can be sensitive so many other times throughout the history of magicians, that to make it a whole point of this man creating the sensitivity in a woman, it's just like, sexist bullshit. And I'm slightly offended that magicians even did that because they've been so good about not falling into those kinds of traps.
Sure.
And then let's not forget that Josh did abandon them at the beginning of season 1 to die at the hands of the beast. I'll never forgive you.
That's also true. Yeah, that's also.
I'm kidding. You're fine.
That's a good point. But no, that's a fascinating point, and not to belabor the point too much, but yeah, I the fact that I hadn't even thought about the fact that it's. He's sort of the reason that her sensitivity is kind of manifesting itself.
But it's always been there. We've
Right.
seen so many sensitive moments with Margot.
Right.
That for it to be like it doesn't have to be a plot point. That this far into the game, we know that about Margot already, that she's self-sacrificing.
Yeah, because I think a lot of what we're being asked to consider isn't necessarily does she love Josh? It's does she love. I feel like that's kind of what we're being asked to sort of consider. And yeah, to your point, I feel like we learned a long time ago that she could.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'm concerned that with only one episode left, there's only so much ground that they're going to be able to cover with those two, because there's so much else happening elsewhere in the magician's universe.
She's baking croissants, like she's all domesticated and crap. I don't want to see that shit.
Right.
Like, you show me the ice axes, and she's the bitch with the ice axes, and now she doesn't even get to use them.
Right.
I'm very upset.
That's also true. That's also true.
Whatever.
But yeah, so we'll see where that goes. She's just baking pastries for a
She's gonna
fish.
use the axes. They got the cure for Josh. He went back to bring it back to her. Josh will be fine. She'll go.
But so what, the last we saw of the axes, Penny was the one that had the axes, right?
No, the very last thing we saw was Alice and Quentin.
Right. Okay, that's right. So yeah, we'll see where that goes.
God-like powered. God-like.
Right.
With the eye.
Well, super magic stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they did that same eye glow that Julia did when she had the sperm, and then also when Alice drank Umber's sperm, they had like the glow.
Interesting, and it was that same glow.
Like a lighter.
I thought it was like
it was a blue,
gold.
but they still did like a flash. Like it was. It's God-like.
I see. Okay.
It's very strong magic, is what I mean.
Sure. So speaking of gods, let's talk about Darth Eliot and his sister, who is now in the body of Julia.
That opening scene, and I was like, did you really just bring back?
Our Lady Underground.
Garcia Bouvier.
I think you're right.
I think it's Garcia. Just to kill her?
Just snap
With
her
a
neck?
snap? I was very upset.
we forgot. By the way, we forgot one god. We gotta get her in here to get out of there. This is the writers going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shoot, we forgot. We gotta kill one more.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
Like, you really didn't have. There's so many other gods.
Right.
And to have her, and I was like, why is she still standing there after she sees homegirl's spirit fly into Julia's mouth? You are a god.
Right.
You were supposed.
You
If
can
it's
just-
not working, then you just be like, oh, bye, girl. I'll see you when you're dead.
Right.
Did I miss the memo of, first of all, how the spirit is in this girl, even though the god was dead and split into parts, but then
He got all the parts.
and so that made the sick girl manifest, which had the god inside of it.
That's no. He had all the parts. He went to that bar. He was talking to that girl.
Right.
He took her.
But in between that and here.
Yeah.
That's what
and
we don't see any of that.
Okay. Yeah. So we totally.
He remembers that that's his sister. Remembers how to get her out of the stones. And this is also just something where it's like, you could have shown us that.
While she's stopped them, she just decides to come out and into Julia.
So she's trying to freeze the scene, but I guess the twin sister's stronger than Persephone.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Our Lady of the Underpass.
So was she already brought back at that point?
Yeah, she was already in the girl.
Off-screen?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, they didn't. It would have been nice for them to show us that because that's what we've been leading up to the whole season. But they did it off screen. And he got her spirit into the girl's body, but the girl wasn't strong enough, and that's why he took Julia.
Okay, that's what I missed.
Yeah.
Because that I was like, what just happened?
Right. Well, and especially the fact that Persephone, she's stopping Darth Eliot from stabbing the the body, the
Yeah.
sick girl, so to kind of stop this from happening, and then it just happens anyway.
Well, basically, what happens, I think, is the girl just dies.
I
And
see.
So when just like when they were in Black Spire last season, whenever one of them would die, his little spirity thing
Oh, I
would float
see.
into someone else.
Sure.
And so when she died, she released the god. But Persephone had been doing her job, which I don't know. She was supposed to keep it up, anyways. Just leave. Like,
Right.
Just
all
leave.
of that subtext.
Yeah.
I watched it twice, and I was like,
So, well, because it's explained at the tail end of the episode before, when he's like, my sister's body is dying and I need a new. So
Yes.
but,
Yeah.
and
But
I
it's
remember him
poorly
saying that, but
Right.
even then I was like,
Well, and I feel like and maybe I'm just imagining this, but I feel like it's been so long since that scene where he took that girl from the bar that like
it's only been 3 episodes.
that feels like a lot though, right?
I mean, they've only been touching on it a little bit. I think the one thing that we just needed to see was him putting the stones together and her being like, "Hey, I'm back, but
Sure.
I need another body."
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
you go get Julia, and then
it's a lot of
I'm there.
the viewer putting the pieces together, which sometimes I'm like,
Sometimes
if
I'm a
you're-
little slow.
Well, if it's also you've been leading up to this big thing that I expect to see, and then you don't show it to me, then that can kind of throw people off too.
Yeah.
And you also would have to remember that when Darth Eliot wasn't Darth Eliot, and he was just that monster in Black Spire, that's how he looked when he came out of bodies. Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, I
it's
knew
confusing.
what was happening.
Right.
I just couldn't figure out why. Like, I didn't put together that he assembled her off screen and stuff.
Sure.
I was like, there's something missing here, and that's not, and clearly there was.
Right.
We're just supposed to assume that.
Yeah, because I feel like that's fair because we've spent so much of the season watching him collect those that you would think the moment that it's all been building to.
Yeah, I
Right.
think for a penultimate episode, it wasn't very strong. There were things that I wanted to see pay off that didn't pay off.
Sure.
I mean, can you imagine if it was Game of Thrones, for all you Game of Thrones fans out there, and we got to the second to last episode and they were like, you know what? Let's just talk too much and shove a bunch of crap in at the very tail end.
Right.
Oh my God, we
Sure.
would tear the show apart. So
Right.
it was not strong in that instance. That have the payoffs that you want, like Quinton and Alice. We'll get to that, but like, come on,
Sure.
come on.
Right.
That's not the payoff I was looking for this season.
Right. We'll
know?
we'll get to more of that. What do we think about I'm fascinated with the dynamic between the twins at this point. The fact that Darth Eliot he's kind of done with killing, it seems like, he's like he did it to bring her back, and now that she's back, he's like, all right, now we're cool. It seems like he was satiated, and it's really just at her sort of beckoning that he's continuing to do so. Now that she's got this grudge against their parents.
We got that context that she was the worst one.
Right.
And like, obviously, without anything to compare to, it's like, yeah, that's silly. But clearly, already from the bat, like, we've seen that his motivation has really been his motivation has been for himself, really, of like, who am I? I don't know what's going on. And
Right,
as he's
just to
figured it out-
have someone that's
Right.
yeah.
And then he finds out that he has a sister, and he's like, okay, well, I must, maybe I got to get revenge or whatever. And he's kind of like, cool, we're good. So I don't know. It's kind of scary in that what is she really wanna do?
Right.
I think he's always kind of been down for torture, because before he decided that he felt like a part of him was missing, that's all he wanted to do was just go around and killing people and
Sure.
have people play with him. And his version of playing is just genocide,
Right.
homicide.
And he definitely enjoyed it while he did do it, but it got to a point where it was.
I don't think he's tired of it.
You don't think so?
I think he wants to explore his relationship with his sister.
I see.
I don't think that means that still doesn't.
I
So
never
doesn't
got
get his
it
rocks
as
off.
like I don't think he. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to empathize the monster, but I didn't feel like he was like, oh, I want to go out and kill people. Like, I want to cause destruction. Like, I think it
what
was
he did, though.
right. But
for
I don't
the first
think
2 episodes.
But I don't think it was from a moral standpoint. I think he's in that sociopathic, unempathetic way of he's not doing it knowing that he's hurting people and that's what he wants to do. He's just doing it because it's fun and he can and he has power. I think the time that he spent with Quinton and the group and stuff like that, which is why she makes that comment about him and the humans.
Right.
He's kind of started to maybe gain a conscience and kind of understand what he's been doing to people, whether that's good or bad. I think that's what I'm trying to say is I don't think that he was inherently evil from a place of where I want to hurt people. I'm going to go hurt people as much as I'm this, weird kid thing that can cut people in half and people are going to try to stop me. And
right.
It's fun because I'm completely oblivious to morality and things like that.
I feel like that character sort of lived in a space in between those things where I think he did know that he was hurting people, but it was more of a game to him. And it wasn't like I feel like there was evil there, but it was more just like a fun game to him, because it was like, he was like, I think he was like a kid pulling the legs off of a spider just for fun, like.
That's
and that's
right. I wouldn't, but
that's also a perfect example because it's also about perspective, right? Like we perceive him in a human body and, we know that he's got like powers and whatever, but in actuality, if this were a real thing, he is larger than this essence of, that's why he talks about humanity and Quinton like crying over his dad dying, like you're all gonna die. You're all just little humans. It's like, we're literally like ants to them.
So that's okay?
I'm not saying it's okay, but I step on ants all the time,
right?
And it doesn't bother me.
I don't step on ants when I'm outside.
Well, you'd make a
but
good
if they're
god,
but
Adrian.
if they're inside,
If they're inside, it's going down.
Sure. No, I feel you.
My space. Well, I have cats now, so my cats just handle
That's
it.
true. That's true.
I have minions.
But I think to that point, it's interesting the way that the Magicians kind of humanizes and makes us empathize with these monsters, both of the literal and figurative sense.
Oh my God, I was just having this thought in my head on the way over, but it's kind of dark, and I don't feel like people coming after me, so never mind. We'll talk about it when the show's over.
You can't tease like that and then
I can do whatever I want. Sorry, guys.
We'll put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that. But yeah, between the way that they've kind of humanized, Darth Eliot, and also the way that they've humanized Christopher Plover as well. Like I can't remember the last show or movie that has asked us to at least empathize or at least understand where someone like him is coming from.
Nymphomaniac.
Just not
interesting.
But you don't need
but
to see that.
If we're talking Von Trier, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All bets are off. We will get to all of that. We've got a lot more to talk about in terms of Christopher Plover and the library, the Poison Room, God of the Week, all that stuff. But before we move on, got a little message for you.
Hey guys, we just wanted to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. And for us to continue to grow, we could really use your guys' help. If you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and hit subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. And no matter where you are, please leave us a comment so you can get involved in the conversation. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us here, and we really truly appreciate you guys for supporting us and doing what we love. Don't forget to tell all your friends and keep enjoying the shows.
Absolutely. There you go. Look at that. Our producer Josh on the ones and twos in the booth, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
But yeah, we love talking about the show, and the gaps in between this show or in between the seasons feel so long. Like it's only a year, but it feels so long. So yeah, get involved in the conversation. There's only one episode left, so got a whole lot to talk about. So let's talk about Zelda and Katy in the Poison Room and kind of them, meeting Christopher Plover for the first time.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of all this?
I thought that. I thought that it was silly of them to believe the moss thing. I was like, meh. And also even dumber because Zelda knows what's up. She's a librarian.
Sure.
Like and that reveal that they could have cured Penny.
We will get to that. I want to save that.
But yeah.
The fact that
not a ton happened before we were able to get them out of the room, which is nice. I mean, I really want to talk about Dean and his awesome James Bond moment.
Yes.
But we'll get there. But
Sure.
I mean, overall, it was nice to see that moment. There's no redeeming. Here's the thing about Christopher Plover. There's no redeeming Christopher Plover because he pities himself too much.
I see.
And he's
a pedophile.
And he's a pedophile.
I mean, yes.
Yes. But at the same time, it's one of those things of like, there's nothing redeemable about you because you can't even acknowledge that what you did was at the heart of like the most evil of the evilest of evilest of evilest of evilest of evilest things.
Right. No matter how many sort of moral epiphanies he's had, he's still the victim in his story.
He basically always wants people to just get over it.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Even if you just take all of that away and say that he never did any of those things and just look at how he acts, he's just kind of an ass. Like he's super full of himself and like is always snide comments and
very condescending.
Yeah, like so he's already not likable, let alone doing incredibly despicable, horrible things.
Yeah. Sure.
Like, no. And this is my all I really want to say about this scene that involves him is like I just don't want ever to have this character express some type of moral high ground and like as even though there is truth to the words that like people will judge you based on what you've done and not who you are, and that's not something that we should do because you know people do change and people make mistakes when they're younger. Life is a constant growing process, but there are some things that you cannot come back from. There are some things that cannot be forgotten,
right?
And he is not the person that I want to hear that from.
I see
that I just don't want to hear that from a pedophile, not and especially not on TV. Like I don't understand what they were thinking with that. There's a bunch of broken characters in this show that they could use to say that, and they've even this is a constant theme for this season is talking about change, especially with Alice. Like the things you've done do not make who you are today. You make who you are today. You can change that. He is not the one. I'm sorry.
But yeah, and I don't think that they're necessarily saying that. They're having it always constantly come out through him and. But he's also constantly reinforcing that he has not changed, you know, and that it's not something that we need to see a big change in this pedophile character. We don't need to see that. It would be nice to see that he is constantly self-punishing because he should be.
Right.
And we're not getting that either. And he'll be like, well, that was something I did in my past and I'm not that way anymore. And then he comes back and he says, I know all of his secrets, like a fucking perv.
That was a dark read. Yeah, exactly.
You haven't changed, motherfucker. Sorry, I'm cursing a lot tonight, you guys. This is why it's an explicit podcast.
Right, exactly. Get that explicit tag.
But he hasn't changed. And
now,
so,
do you think?
why should we?
No, well, now let's go to that line. Let's go to that line. I feel like I interpreted that line as more of a pragmatic, just like, look, I know his secrets. I can lead us to the next step.
And
basically.
if you just said it like that,
that's what I thought too.
But do you interpret it more as like he was like almost gloating about it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because it was the way that he said it.
Sure.
And the smirk that he said it with, where he's like, I know all his secrets. And I was like, you nasty
maybe that's
motherfucker.
maybe that's what it is. Maybe I wasn't looking at the smirk.
I read that he said it that way. I mean, he is a nasty motherfucker.
Just in more of a way of like self-preservation, like, oh, you need me, like I know his secrets.
He also did have a lot of secrets.
Sure.
He was a bad guy as well too. Like, yes, terrible things happened to him, but he became a villain. He did, especially even talking about the reservoir. Like, he sealed that whole thing off because he didn't want anybody else to have access to that.
Here's the funny, crazy thing about when he sealed it off is that Martin sealed it off, not the Beast. So when Martin sealed it off, he did it to prevent the 13th from anyone ever being able to do that again, to basically hoard magic as a way of becoming like a godlike character. That's why he caused the drought when he was a kid, and then when he got older and he became the Beast, he wanted to hoard magic again, but he no longer loved Fillory in the same way.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's not, he didn't do that to be evil. He actually did that to show like a sign of goodness, that people should not have an all power, like all this power over magic.
Right.
But
But he did a lot of.
But that's what I was going to say. Is that the morality of the show has always been intriguing. We've talked about this with other characters, and I think like everyone has their like lines of forgiveness. Like when we get into God of the Week, I'm going to bring up a movie and I'm going to talk about a quote, and everyone has their line of is this person in the right? Is this person in the wrong? And so that's kind of where we're like. I don't know anyone who thinks pedophilia is okay, except for pedophiles, and that's like a universal line for people. But the whole point of the show, which I always appreciate it, is that they do talk about people's lines and how far everyone's kind of in the gray. So how far into the black do you go? How far into the white do you go? And when do you come back? But at the same time, Christopher Plover is kind of exhausting because he's just there being creepy and gross and self-pitying, and he's part of a storyline that's really just no longer relevant. And he somebody scratch that scar off him and kill him. It must be done.
Right.
I love you, Charles Shaughnessy.
Now we've got a whole lot more to unpack and not a ton of time left, but I definitely want to get into the question while we're talking about this subplot with Katy and Zelda. The fact that when Katy thinks that there might not be a cure for this, that super cancer that the poison room kind of brings on. Let's talk about the conversation that she has with Penny 23 and the fact that maybe she wants to die so that she can be with her Penny, with Penny 40, or P40, as Hyman would say.
See, Hyman,
I love
totally
that.
Problematic.
So yeah, what did you guys think about that and kind of her sort of dilemma?
They were doing such a good job of like having me care about Katy, because sometimes I don't care about Katy.
Sure.
But at this point, I was kind of like, ugh, you're just pouting again. And it was cooler when you like ruler of the hedge witches, and now you're just
Interesting.
thinking about dying for a guy that you haven't seen in like a year and a half, and I wasn't here for it.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know.
No, sure.
Not to say that you shouldn't mourn people and want to be with them and that kind of thing. And it's just sometimes the love stories just kind of frustrate me because I just don't believe in rehashing the same bullshit over and over and over again. I realize it's a TV show, but like, give us a break.
Sure.
I mean, like I said, like last week, Friends gave us a break. Ross and Rachel, a nice 5-year break. Thank you so much.
We were on a break. Yeah, exactly. Nate, what do you think?
I didn't really care.
No?
I was not surprised that the library had a cure. How, of course. Like, how else do they put the books in the room? Like,
If something goes wrong.
yeah, like, come on.
Sure.
It's a library. Two, yeah, I feel for Katy, but yeah, it's hard to. They built her up. She's had a really strong season up to this point, and it's just like super. Like, come on, are you gonna kill yourself so that
And
you
the
can?
fact, yeah, the fact that I think that Penny 40 wouldn't want her to do that.
Well, it's also
you know?
like they're not gonna just hang out. He still
has work to do.
working.
He's got
Yeah.
shit to do.
What are you gonna
Is
do?
she going to become a librarian? She hates the librarians.
Right.
It's like, if Penny can get over it and move on, Penny 40 is the most emotionally developed character this season. And we don't even get to see him.
And we've barely seen him this season. At least we got that one episode.
All right. Speaking of relationships that are boring.
Oh, Quinton and Alice?
Right.
Let's just hop
right.
into
Let's get to that. Yeah. We're about to pivot there.
Do whatever. I mean, it's not like... like last week, we talked about like the whole kiss thing and when did he realize that, when was he back in his body and was it appropriate and all that kind of stuff and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, they're probably going to make it appropriate because they want them to be in game. And I just don't want that. Like, you can Ross and Rachel them, you can break them up forever and have them get back later. But like, just give me some time for Quentin to explore this thing with Elliott, which seems so much more genuine and healthy and relatable than him and Alice at this point.
Interesting. So do you think there's still ground to be mined once real Elliott is back between Elliott and Quentin?
I don't know anymore now that he's like, I want to be with you.
Right.
So
Right. Interesting. I think I had sort of relegated that to just that kind of one alternate timeline. I didn't. I would love to see more of that, but I wasn't sure.
Only because when Elliott was able to come back, the first thing he said to Quentin was peaches and plums, and
That's true.
That was the entrance to his doors. This
Right.
moment to try this thing with Quentin.
Right. Real quick, this episode is flying
Nate,
by.
Do you want to say something real quick before we?
No, I agree with you. I don't know. It just felt a little too fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Right.
I also just wasn't here for that love fillery type of monologue thing.
Yeah, I don't
care about that.
Like, yeah, and we're back to this thing of like all these episodes about how side characters are important and Quentin's not the main character. And guess who has to say fillery?
Right.
Like some
Shocker.
Peter Pan type of shit.
Shocker.
It only works in Hook, okay? Think Happy Thoughts only works in Hook.
Like, if you would have told me that this season would be ending with like Quentin and Alice like holding hands, drinking from a lake, getting all superpowered, I would have been like, no.
Yeah. And I was like,
Here we
you
are.
mean Margot and Penny at the lake getting
See?
superpowered and
Hell,
handling
I
shit?
would have taken Josh and
Yes.
Fenn. Like,
Josh and Fenn.
anybody.
Yes. Anyone but the two main white leads, okay?
Oh, well,
I called it like it is.
I'm okay with them being.
I don't care. It's totally fine that they're white, but like if you're gonna make all these storylines about female empowerment, if you're gonna have a whole story where you dedicate it to the side characters, and not every story having to be about a cis-het white man,
Right.
then don't make your final story about a cis-het white man.
Well,
Sure.
it's not over yet, so we'll see.
We'll
Maybe
see,
maybe
yeah.
it's all a big misdirect and we're.
They did
Maybe.
do that to us season 1.
This is true.
White people, I love you. Hey, I love you. Like, don't freak out on me on
No.
YouTube because I said something mean about white people.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, obviously a whole lot to unpack in this episode. Tweet us, hit us up on Instagram, let us know what you think about it. But Adrian, hit us with another God of the Week.
It's so long. We have little time. Okay, so this week, do we have
Wait a minute.
Yes. Oh, the whole.
full thing?
This isn't my world. Disappointed!
Yes. We don't usually get the extended
full-
cut.
Yeah. You guys gotta look at the origin of that line. It's
It's so good.
delightful. So this week it's the Titans. Oh man, there's 12 of them, you guys. 14 total, 18 maybe max.
I'm having deja vu about this because I did almost this exact segment on the Titan games.
Yeah?
About the Titans.
I won't go.
Yeah.
I'm not. We don't have as much time, but that's them. That's the Titans looking all glorious
There we go.
in their whatever-itness. They're actually not really human entities. I like that Elliot kind of brought the point. It's like they're just like this, like because they're the creation of everything.
Did he say
stab
thought
them.
creatures?
Like yeah, basically like thought creatures. They're not-
That's so fascinating to me.
because Oceanus is a sea god. Uranus and Gaia are heaven and earth.
You said
Caius is
Uranus.
inquisitive minds and intellect. Creus is pillar that holds heaven and earth apart. Hyperion is god of light and watchfulness. I had right down. Iapetus is god of craftsmanship. Cronus is known as Father Time, but he's actually not Father Time, but he did help create the universe. Theus, goddess of light. Rhea is the way things flow. That's what I found for her. It doesn't make sense. Themis is goddess of natural and moral order. I wrote it down and I forgot. Mnemosyne is goddess of memory. Phoebe is the moon goddess and goddess of prophecy. And Tethys is the goddess of the fresh water. Let's go with that. And then there were other ones that I was like, oh yeah, like Atlas, but they didn't have that on the list. So these are known as the prime 12
I see, okay.
children of Uranus and Gaia, who were also Titans.
Interesting.
Atlas was
And then Zeus took over with the help of Cronus. He wasn't. Oh, Atlas is actually just the
Atlas,
Roman name for Prometheus. My bad.
Oh.
So Zeus helped with the help of Cronus, helped basically overthrow the Titans. Then Zeus turned on Cronus and threw their ass into Tartarus, which is where they've been living, which I think has been referenced on the show, but I could be wrong. Anyways, when they talk about their parents were the old gods, this is who I think they're talking about, which makes them the Olympians. Okay. Now, a few quick pop culture references.
Yeah.
Hercules, 1997. Hey, for my 90s kids. Clash of the Titans, 1981.
Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, very weird movie with Henry Hamill?
Yes. Henry Hamlin.
Harry Hamlin.
Harry Hamlin.
As a lead. Remake
got
of it,
it.
Clash of the Titans with what's his face?
Sam
from
Worthington?
Yes, Worthington. I feel like if you're in Clash of the Titans, that means that you may not have a successful film career. I'm just letting you know, that's my theory. This is also the movie where Liam Neeson had my favorite line, release the Kraken, and that's why I said Liam Neeson, now a problematic fave.
Very problematic.
But we can go into that about, do you think it was as problematic as you think it is? Anyways, and then lastly, God of War, 2005, 2018, PS4 exclusive video game, also has
Very
Titans in
good.
it.
Very good.
That's it, you guys.
I
did
love it. Let's get into some real quick predictions.
Yes.
TV predictions.
The quick style. Okay,
Right.
so Nate and I were talking a little bit before we went live. We have to see who Penny 40 saw on the goddamn elevator in the next episode.
Well, there's things I wanted to see that clearly aren't going to happen anymore.
Right. Because it's the chronology of all that is interesting to me because it's got to be something where that happened after this whole kind of showdown, this battle that's about to happen. What do you guys think?
It would be nice to see that. I want Julia just to become God-powered so she can push that homegirl out of her body, but I feel like she's going to go in the other direction and become human and weak so that the girl can't sustain in her body, which bores me. But anyways, it's fine.
Right.
It would be nice if Margot comes to the rescue with Josh when Alice and Quentin clearly fail, because that's what I need. Not because I hate them, but come on, give me a different ending from season 1.
Right.
Okay, that's all I got.
Nate, what do you think?
Super wild prediction. I think Katie's gonna die.
I think so too.
I think she's gonna choose to not die and to get the cure, and then either she's gonna make a sacrifice or like die in like accidentally in crossfire or something. But I think she.
Dunzo.
Yeah, I think we're getting
somebody's gonna die.
I think we're getting Penny 23 and Julia living, happily on the above world, I guess, and then Penny 40 and Katie in the underworld. So who knows? We'll see.
She's already in the outfit.
Right?
And
exactly.
I mean, maybe that's how she gets the cure from the library. She agrees to do, or I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
And then Zelda's totally going to betray them so she can run the library once Everett becomes a god, because she's already set that up when she told Quentin it has to be him.
Interesting. Man, coming in with that hot take right at the buzzer. I love it. Guys, make sure you tweet us. Hit us up on Instagram with your fan theories. No matter how wild they are, the wilder the better. Hit us up with your weird ones, because there's only one episode left to talk about them. But we'll be right back here, same time, same channel, talking the season finale. But guys, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow.
Hey guys, really quick, I just started a brand new podcast doing it with my friends. If you work in the restaurant industry as a server, manager, host, whatever, go ahead and check it out. It's called 86, the No Filter Podcast. That's 86D. You can find us on Instagram. We're available everywhere you can find podcasts, and you can find me at Dog Like Nate.
I like it. As always, you can find me online at Ty Matthews PMA. Just got back from New York where I was covering WrestleMania on behalf of AfterBuzz. Got some awesome interviews on the red carpet of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So go check that out. bit.ly/WWE AfterBuzz 2019. Concise, short, and that's it. That's once this show wraps up, I'm taking a little break. So be sure to check us out next week, same time, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Pacific, talking about the very last episode of season 4 of The Magicians. But until then, peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.